Our next guest is here on the line. Madeline has been so patient waiting. So thank you so much. I'm sorry to be running a little bit behind, Madeline. Thank you for joining. How are you doing?
No worries. I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. You doing okay?
Doing great. Doing
Excellent.
great.
I pointed out, and I'm going to point it out again, she's wearing her Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation jacket. And this is a great organization. And in fact, any funds that we raise today, we're going to donate to Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation because that's what this is about today. And they're a fabulous organization, especially for people who've just recently been diagnosed with triple negative breast cancer. When you get that diagnosis, it's super scary, and they have a wealth of information there. So, very grateful to support that organization. All right, girl, let's get into this, man. I want to hear your story. So, you had triple negative breast cancer, and tell us how you first found out that you had breast cancer.
I did. So I found out that I had breast cancer through a self-exam. My mom is a two-time breast cancer survivor. We are both negative for all genetic mutations. But the second time that she had cancer, I was living with her and taking care of her. And going through that experience kind of instilled this routine of, okay, this is really scary. I want to start checking every single month religiously. And in November of 2022, it would have been, I found a lump and immediately that day called my doctor, said I need an appointment, went to the doctor, said I need a mammogram and an ultrasound. It wasn't a, hey, can you check this out? It was, I got to get in.
Right. And how old were you at this
Days
time?
later, I was diagnosed. I was 32.
Wow, so young.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it was 5 days after my 32nd birthday when I
oh my
officially got
gosh.
the diagnosis.
You know, the person who's following after you, Courtney, she was diagnosed on her 30th birthday, I think it was. It was like on her birthday. That's so crazy. So, whenever you were diagnosed, were they able to do it from the ultrasound and the mammogram, or did they do a biopsy?
No, they did a biopsy. So originally my ultrasound and mammogram were supposed to be on separate days. And I realized that something was wrong when I went in for, I think they did the mammogram first. And they said, hey, can you stay here? We want to do the ultrasound as well. And I came out of that appointment with the biopsy appointment. And I think that was like 2 days later. So I had to go through the biopsy. And then I actually, unfortunately, found out that I had breast cancer from my chart instead of a doctor's
Oh
call.
gosh, no. See,
Yeah.
I'm always worried about or wondered really if they put that information in the chart. I mean, I love it to an extent, right? But when it comes to something like that, that can be pretty rough.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, the hospitals that I'm with now have a policy where once the results are released, I think they wait like 48 or 72 hours before it's posted. So they give your doctor adequate time to call you. The hospital that I got diagnosed at didn't have that. And so I actually saw the My Chart notification on a Saturday morning, and I didn't get to talk to the radiologist until Monday at 4 p.m.
You know, I'm gonna put that on my list of advocacy things to do is to find out, like, to make sure that that's like a thing, so that
Yeah,
people don't find out they have breast cancer when they're like sitting at the drive-through at McDonald's or something. You know, that would be horrible. Okay,
yeah,
so
absolutely.
so the biopsy that you had, tell me about it. Was it a core needle biopsy? Was it a surgical biopsy? Core needle biopsy?
Prenatal biopsy. I'd had a couple, lump scares before, but this was the first one that felt real. I know for a lot of people, the biopsies can be quite painful. For me, this one was not. I did get a couple of other ones down the road that did hurt a bit, but this one I just remember it not feeling painful. It was just really emotional because it was that fear of what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And so after your biopsy, you found out from my chart that you had breast cancer. And where were you when you saw that?
I was in my bed.
Yeah.
I'd woken up, I saw you have a new test result. I didn't even think of it.
Were you alone at the time?
I was alone. I
Oh
was alone.
gosh.
This is like one of the core days where I'm so thankful for my support system. So
Yeah.
I don't remember much. I remember I threw the phone and then I picked it back up and I read it again. I called my mom and I said, I need you here. And so she lives 4 hours away. And she just got in the car and started driving. She called my best friend at the time who was still living here and said, Chris, I need you to get to Madeline. And he said, is it bad? And she said, it is. I need you to get to her. And so my best friend drove to my front door and he stayed with me until when my mom showed up.
Oh, that's so awesome. I'm so
Yeah.
glad you have such a great support system. And it is hugely important. You know, whenever Janine was talking earlier, she was talking about how she didn't want to ask for help. And it's so true. She realized later that it's just so important to be able to do that and to be able to lean on somebody, and being alone during a diagnosis like this is terrifying. So everybody came over and you guys bound together, and then when did you talk to your doctor?
My current doctor, I met just a couple days later. I was, I had called a client who really everyone rallied in a way that I'm so thankful for. And so I had one of my very first bosses set up a GoFundMe, and I had called this client because I was like, I don't know when this is going to get posted. I want her to find out from me. And I told her I have breast cancer. Didn't know she was a survivor. And so she actually connected me to the head of oncology at the hospital that's now my hospital. And I got in with my oncologist just a couple days later. So I was very blessed in that even though I didn't get a call from my doctor that diagnosed me,
Mhm.
I did get in front of, the people that would ultimately become my team really quickly. And, for triple negative, it feels like every day is against you. So if the faster you can get through that diagnosis, it feels like, whether or not it's true, it feels like you're putting yourself on a good path.
Oh, totally. And I don't know about you, but when I got that diagnosis, it's like all I wanted was it to be out of me as soon as possible. And so you want everything to move really fast, and the fact that you were able to kind of move quickly is really really good. I've heard
Yeah.
horror stories from people where that doesn't happen, and so you are very blessed for that. So what was the plan of attack at that point?
So I was borderline. My tumor ended up, I think it was 1.9. And so I was stage 1C. And the Keytruda protocol or the Keynote 522 protocol from 2021 is for 2 and up. And so I went through a little bit of back and forth. I sought out a second opinion, and my oncologist ultimately put me on the tumor board to have that dialogue about, I have a patient, she's in her early 30s, she's right on the edge. What are the pros and cons of doing this protocol? And ultimately, we did put me on that protocol. So I had 16 rounds of chemo with the AC and Taxol and Carbo, 1 year of immunotherapy, um, neoadjuvant. So I did my double mastectomy after the fact. But yeah, it was a little bit up in the air about how are we going to treat this, because I was on that edge.
Wow. And so how did the chemo affect you, and what order did you do it in? Were you adriamycin, Cytoxan first and then Taxol?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm always interested hearing about even people that are on Keynote 522, who
Uh,
does what first. I did AC first, and I was so thankful to get that out of the way. If more so anything, just the mental component. I think, like, you hear Red Devil, it's just so scary. It's like, oh, like I don't know. I just wanted to get it over and done with. And I found, I'm really into like mindfulness, and I found a routine of going in AC where when they actually pushed the Red Devil, I would do a meditation. So my very first chemo, my friend had a singing bowl, and she was like doing the singing bowl, and we had a headspace meditation on, and it turned into this routine where the nurses and the CTU would be like, "Oh, are we meditating? We want
that's
to
so
meditate with you
cool.
today."
That's awesome
Um,
though, man.
it
That's
was
really cool.
amazing. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, it's amazing. And Headspace actually has a coping with cancer series. So it
Nice.
wasn't just a generic meditation. Every session through that learning path actually talks about things that you might experience as a cancer patient. And so it
Wow.
was such a good way to like make this negative into not so much a positive, but just a very mindful experience. Now, the days after chemo, not so mindful. Those were rough, but the actual experience itself
Yeah.
was something that I felt like I was in control and in power, even though I wasn't.
That's really brilliant. That's so cool. And so you said how many rounds did you say? 16 rounds?
16. So I did
Yowza.
dose sense of the AC,
Uh-huh.
and then I did 12 rounds of Taxol Carbo. I had a much easier time. Well, the recovery from AC was really hard. My body coped with it better. So Taxol Carbo, I think I had like 4 delays in treatment because either my liver enzymes or my white blood cell count was just not up to doing another round. And so it took me some extra time. Yeah, that like month delay wasn't too fun, but
Yeah, yeah.
we got through everything.
Well, when you went through the AC, what were all your side effects? Tell us about it. I know you lost your hair, right? Or did you do a
Uh,
cold cap or
I no, I shaved my hair. I shaved my head. So I
excellent.
I was okay with losing it. I kind of going into it, I'm like, this doesn't define me. But at the same time, I didn't want to experience it falling out. And so I had my hairstylist, who I love dearly. I've been seeing him for 7 years. He came over to my apartment and he, in privacy, shaved my head before my first treatment. Um, which was, again, it was like emotional, but it was a bit of controlling what I could
Yeah, it's
control.
empowering, right?
Yes,
Totally.
yeah, and so, yeah, like, I had stubble and the stubble fell out, but it didn't feel as rough as, like, having long hair kind
Yeah.
of come out throughout the process. I definitely struggled with the dry mouth. I had Biotine on deck at all times
I still
because
do, man. They
oh
sold
my
me on
gosh,
that so hard that it's like I'm just gonna do it all the time for the rest of my life.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I struggled with the dry mouth, nausea, fatigue, my hands and feet. I can't remember what it was called, like
Neuropathy.
not neuropathy, it's like hand foot syndrome, like they turned like red and blistery.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. And then I actually think the most frustrating side effect for me that I didn't expect was I had really bad vertigo and dizziness. And so it did not matter how slowly I stood up. If I went from laying to sitting or sitting to standing, I'd brown out. Like I would have a second where it felt like I was going to pass out and then I would be fine. And that stopped, or at least it lessened up after AC. So that one was tough because I always felt like, your mind goes to, it's not the chemo, it's something else.
Yeah, there's
And
something wrong with my brain. I mean, I
yeah,
I know. I think we've all done that at one point or another, especially having triple negative. Yeah, it's scary.
yeah, yeah. So we did the brain MRI. I was having like headaches and
Yeah.
this dizziness. We did the brain MRI during AC and it turned out everything was fine. But
But that
that
peace
was
of
a side
mind was
effect
great.
I wasn't expecting that one.
Yeah.
It was rough.
Yeah. And so then when you went on to Taxol, how was that for you as far as side effects? I know for me, like I lost all hair on my body after Taxol. Like
Yeah.
AC was just the hair on my head, but Taxol was like every like eyebrows, eyelashes, nose hair, everything, all gone.
Yeah, my hair loss was weird. So I lost the hair in my head started growing back during Taxol, like fuzzies. But that's when I lost my eyebrows, eyelashes, like everything else went away. So I don't know if it was just a delay or what, but yeah, I remember at the end of Taxol feeling like it was really real because I didn't have eyelashes. And for some reason that was the like, okay, now I feel like I look really sick. Um, I had a little bit of neuropathy during Taxol, but thankfully that, mostly came back. Um, and my brain fog during Taxol was unreal. Like I struggled towards the end of it, just getting through a conversation. Of course, people around me were like, "You're fine. Like, what are you talking about?" I remember being on work meetings and being like, "Oh my God, I forgot this word." And then after the fact, people around me being like, "Yeah, we couldn't even tell that you."
Yeah, but it feels yeah, I mean, I know exactly what you're talking about where you just feel like you just sound like a space cadet all the time
Yeah,
and everybody's like,
yeah,
"I didn't notice anything," but I mean, we
right.
really latch on to that because we see the difference,
Yeah,
you
you feel
know?
like there's a word, you know what that word is, and
Yep.
you want to recall it, but it's just not there, or you're halfway through a sentence and then you forgot what you were going to say.
Right.
And then you have to tap dance your way into
You're
like,
like,
oh,
"Hey, I'm cool."
let me pivot this into something else.
And anyway.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Okay, so you had the AC, the Taxol, and then what came next? Because you had just a full range, so
Yeah. I did a double mastectomy with immediate reconstruction
okay.
a month after I finished chemo
So with like in the same surgery?
in the same
Very
surgery. So
cool.
it was,
Yeah.
I remember, my plastic surgeon said, we think you're a candidate and like we can't go too big, but we can do it all in one go. I was like, I don't want more surgeries. Like, let's do it all in one go. And if I want to go bigger at some point, like I'll deal with that down the road. And he was like, okay, but when we open you up like that, I can't say for sure if it's going to happen until the surgery. And apparently one of the first thing I said when I woke up, I was like, do I have boobies? Like, I really wanted to know if there was anything down there. And they're like,
Right,
you
right.
do. And I
You
was
did
like,
it. Yay.
are they big? Like, so yeah, I was able to get the direct to implants. I was able to forgo expanders, which I'm really thankful for. And then we
Yeah.
went back in and did a revision surgery for like fat grafting and nipple reconstruction down the road.
Wow, cool. So are
Yeah.
all your surgeries for reconstruction complete at the moment anyway?
Are they ever?
Not from what I've heard.
Are they ever complete?
I actually had no, I didn't have reconstruction, but I know that, you go back every X amount of years for some kind of
Yeah.
revision of sorts, but
Yeah, I feel like I meet so the women that go down the reconstruction path, I feel like everyone's kind of it's like, do I do another surgery? There's this thing I'm not happy with. Do I fix it? Do I just leave it? And so like I could not do another surgery and be completely fine. But of course, like there's things that, I had one of my nipple, I did the 4D nipple reconstruction where they actually take skin, they did it from my thigh and create a new nipple, an areola, like
wow,
all of
that's amazing what they can do, isn't it?
fascinating. And one of them turned out really good, and then the other one failed. And so, like, I really want to get that fixed, but I also don't want to go through another surgery.
Right,
So
right.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see in a year or so how I feel about it.
Yeah. So how long was that, just out of curiosity, from the moment you were diagnosed to the moment of your mastectomy? Because you had chemo between. So how
Yeah.
long was that? Most
It would
like a
have
few
been
months?
about 8 months from the moment that I was diagnosed to surgery. So chemo took me about 7 months. It was supposed to be six, took an extra month because I had delays and kept having an attack. We're gonna do this treatment next week. We're gonna shoot this treatment next week. And then I did have a year of immunotherapy. So that started with chemo and that just finished about um, a little bit under 2 months ago now. So in January, end of January, I had my last immunotherapy.
Wow. And how was the immunotherapy for you? Did you have any side effects from that?
I don't think so. So like during it, not really. During it, I had a little bit of fatigue, like definitely wasn't feeling great. And who knows how much of that was just bouncing back from chemo versus immunotherapy. Um, and now I actually think now I'm having some more post-treatment struggles. And I don't know, if it's from immunotherapy or if it's just again generally from chemo. Like I'm having some issues with my liver and worried about my thyroid, and we'll see. Like I think that's there is no such thing as an after cancer. Like there is after diagnosis, and you learn how to navigate life, at least in my experience. But I don't know if it's ever going to go back to the way that it was, or if I'm ever going to feel the way that I did before I got diagnosed. I definitely don't yet.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many changes that occur, and I mean, like for me, there's several things that kind of stuck that are still problematic, but definitely in the grand scheme of things, not a big deal at all. We're alive, right? That's the big
Right,
thing.
right. We're alive, but we have to deal with fatigue that just doesn't go away, and parts of our body that are just numb forever,
Yeah,
or
right.
things of pain, or there's a lot of like ors and ands.
Yeah,
It's a or but we're alive, but
right,
like,
right.
we have this thing. And I would take what I'm dealing with any day over not being here.
Yeah.
But it does mean that life is a little bit different. And so sometimes it's hard to relate to people that aren't in the cancer community or don't have chronic illnesses, because I look okay, right? Like I look like everything's fine, but I'm not always okay. And that's hard to it's hard to relate with people that don't necessarily have ongoing health challenges.
Yeah, that's what's really great about a lot of the Facebook groups out there, being able to relate to each other in that way. And, not only to have people to support us if we have questions or concerns or things that we're dealing with post treatment, but also to be able to be there now for those that are newly diagnosed that are so scared and be able to you know, be a glimmer of hope for them.
Uh, My favorite place these days is in my DMs. I took to social media when I was diagnosed just because it helped me sharing. I was like, I can't handle telling everyone individually what's going on. And so I would just post what was happening. it was a lot easier. I could control who I responded to or if I responded at all. And in doing so, people kept finding me as they got diagnosed. And so now, there's a lot of meaning that comes out of being able to talk to people and give them the same sort of hope and guidance and community that people gave me when I first got diagnosed, because it's important. It is important to feel like you're not alone. It's important to be able to just have someone where you can just be like, screw this. Like, this is hard. And then say like, you know what? Yeah, it is. It is hard without judgment. Because sometimes it's the way it is.
Yeah, it is so good to have that support. And I've found so many women who've gone through breast cancer that turn to advocacy and help supporting each other. And I think there's, a reason for why all this stuff happens, and, a purpose for us. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that you see that too. It sounds like you're really into giving back and kind of paying it forward.
Yeah. I was really thankful to go on. Have you heard of the Booby Queen?
No, I haven't. No. Uh-uh.
So the Booby Queen is this organization ran by Whitney, who is a survivor and a licensed therapist. And she does these very intimate retreats for survivors. And you dive into like a little bit of group therapy, and it's really just about treating yourself and feeling like a queen and having a bit of fun. And so she has some generic retreats. You just have to be local to the area where she does them. And then she also has a TNBC specific retreat. And I came out of that retreat with so many new resources, because again, you put a bunch of community people in one room and someone's like, oh, like, I'm really struggling with intimacy after treatment. And then it's like, oh, have you tried this and this and this and this? Or, oh, I just, like, I used to love reading, and I want some sort of content that kind of speaks to what I've been through. And then you have a recommendation. So we actually had a whiteboard where it was like, if a recommendation came up and people latched onto it, we just walked over the board and wrote it down. And by the end, actually it was a mirror, by the end of this retreat, that mirror was filled. Like, there was no white space left. And I came away with things that I'm now using or I'm sharing to people that I meet who are dealing with the same sort of challenges.
That is so cool. Where are these retreats held? Are they like, is it like a trip where you all go away somewhere far?
So
Or is
you
it
have to
nearby?
be located within 100 miles of where she does them. And her goal is to have them everywhere, like ran by licensed therapists, but right now it's just her. So now she does one out of Georgia. She's done one out of Fort Lauderdale the past couple years. I think the TNBC one, I want to say, is out of New Jersey. But she's wonderful. The organization's wonderful. Highly recommend checking them out. You can also like she quite literally makes bras into crowns. And
That's
you can
awesome.
order, yes, you can order. I have mine, it's in my car. I would have had it on.
Uh,
You can order a crown to gift to a queen. So if someone's like finishing chemo, you can send them a Booby Queen crown as a way to celebrate, them moving into survivorship.
that's so cool. I was talking to Janine earlier, and we were talking about how all the different nonprofits, should interlink more and be able to like share knowledge and help more people, because like there's XYZ is what we do, research and trials, help funding treatment, and then also fund mammograms. But then like there's other organizations who help like pay for people's mortgages when they're going through breast cancer, or then
Right.
there's what you're talking about here that does these.
Community,
Yeah,
financial,
yeah,
research,
dude.
yeah,
And like,
mentorship.
right,
There's
pulling all
so
those
many.
things together and being able to everybody utilize each other's resources just
Yeah.
for the betterment of the community is brilliant. And we've got some people from the board watching right now, and hopefully Jennifer, secretary, write that down. The Booby Queen. We gotta find them, because that's very, very cool. I love that, and I'm gonna need to see your little crown
Oh, I'll
sometime.
share
Okay, yeah,
it.
send a picture, text me one or something.
I'll share it. We did a cancer research. The Dolphins run a fundraiser every year. And so I was in it with actually another girl that was from their retreat, and she did her 5K with her crown on. Like, she was there and proud. And I think she brought another crown to like gift to somebody. So yeah,
That's
it's
brilliant.
great.
I love that. I love it. Yeah, there's a lot of people in the chat right now asking about it and
Yeah.
wanting to know the name, so I pinged the name in there so that everybody knows how to learn more about them. But Madeline, tell me, I know we've kind of talked about a lot of things as far as like what positive things you have gotten from going through breast cancer. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I think appreciation for the little things. I lived a very fast-paced life before cancer. I was living in Miami. I had been living in London before that. I'd like to believe that I wasn't too superficial myself, but I enjoyed things. I enjoyed experiences. And I think more now than ever, I enjoy little moments in life because all of those other things can be taken away from you so quickly. And so cancer was almost the forcing function of, just sitting at home with a friend and having a good conversation or cooking a meal together now has so much more meaning in it than it ever did. Kind of similarly, I'm thankful for my family. I didn't have a great relationship with my dad before I was diagnosed, and he and I reconnected, and I'm so glad that he's in my life now. And my mom, was with me every step of the way through treatment. And so I get to spend more time with her that most people in their 30s don't get to do. And so, I can't say that like, oh, I'm so glad that I have cancer, like I had cancer, right? Like it's yay. But there were things that it brought to me that I never would have appreciated if it wasn't for cancer. And for that, I'm thankful.
Yep. Amen. Madeline, you're so awesome. And I'm sorry we had a late start with you. I'm really grateful you were able to hang out and do this tonight. And I hope we get to chat again real soon, especially about some of these other organizations that maybe you know about in your area. You're out in Miami, and we can get some people connecting and networking just to help more people. And if you're not a member of the survivor group, Survivors Rock, a breast cancer contingent community, I think that's how maybe you met Jennifer from our board that way.
Yeah.
So great community there. Be sure to jump in anytime you see any newbies. I know that they would really get a lot from your energy and your passion. So, and providing so much hope. So, thank you so much for joining tonight, girl.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, yeah. You have a great.
Appreciate everything you're doing.
Yeah, thank you. And this interview will be up on our YouTube channel in the next couple of weeks, and it'll be here on Facebook too. So, everybody who's watching, if you joined late, be sure and watch the replay. And thanks again, Madeline, for coming out tonight. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a great evening.
You as well.
Bye bye. All right, everybody, give it up for Madeline. It's so cool that she could join this evening.